I think so.
Okay.
Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm thrilled about our conversation that we're going to have. Today I'm going to be talking with Bob Negen from WhizBang. If you don't know what WhizBang is yet, you have got to stay watching and hear all about it because they have been doing some great things, and especially throughout the last 6 months, they've been such a motivating team across the retail board. So I'm not even going to try to explain everything that Bob and his team do. I'm going to leave that up to him because I'm sure he can do a much better job of it. And with that, here we go. We're going to bring in Bob. Hey there. Thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with us today. How are you?
Well, Camille, I am great. I am honored to be here. I'm just thrilled to be able to talk to your community.
We're honored to have you. I said that I feel like I'm a little bit of a fangirl, being like, yes, he agreed to come on our show. You know,
happy to be here.
So I want to hear about your background. I know you have a background in retail, and I want to hear about your journey and how you decided to come up with WhizBang and start all of that. Can you tell us?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I was 23 years old, I had just graduated from college. I didn't want to get a real job, and I had a new hobby, and that hobby was kite flying. And I didn't want to get a new real job, and I love flying kites, so I thought I'd open a kite store because, you know, I shop, therefore I can run a store is the way that it sort of worked in my head. And I know that a lot of your viewers and listeners started the same way. So I went up to Mackinac City, Michigan. I had $2,000. That was what I started it with. I had no business experience. There were very, very few kite stores in the entire world. But, you know, I was young and dumb and ambitious, and not ambitious as I wanted to be a successful business person, but I wanted to have a kite store because I wanted to have a kite store. So that first year, that first summer season in Mackinac City, we did a paltry $17,000. But then for 19 years, you know, that first year I hired my younger brother, Steve, who was my junior partner, who became my junior partner. And in 99, I sold it to him. So the Mackinac Kite Company, now it's Mac Kite, and they have a board store, but it's still there, and it's still a very successful business. But in those 19 years, the important thing and the relevant thing, I think, is that we really dialed it in. You know, when I sold it to Steve, we were a tight business. It ran well. We were doing about $3.5 million a year at the time, which, in the furniture business may not be much, but when you're selling kites and toys, we were a good business. But a lot of the reason we got tight and we became more successful was I met my wife, Susan. And she was a department store executive. I remember the moment when I went, oh my God, somebody actually trained her how to be a retailer. I thought the only way that you learned how to be a retailer was by screwing it up. And I did a lot of that. But, you know, so we met and we fell in love, and she came to work for the Mackinac Kite Company. And so, you know, we had a good business. You know, Steve and I had a good business. We were always growing. We had a great reputation on the street. People loved us, but it was never quite together, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And when we took all of that entrepreneurial sort of energy that Steve and I brought to the table and dropped in those real, skills, all of a sudden it all came together. And then in 99, Steve came to me and said, hey, Bob, you want to sell your share of the company? And, I had already been thinking about, starting a training company and doing what we're doing here because I realized that most of us, meaning independent retailers, were in the same situation I was in, meaning they had a passion for their product. They loved their business. They loved what they did, but it was frustrating because they weren't getting there. And so I was already thinking about, doing some speaking and doing some consulting on the side. But then when Steve came and offered to buy my share of the company, it literally took me a half hour to decide to sell. And so Susan came with me, And the two of us started WhizBang Retail Training, 20 years ago now. So I have a 40-year retail career, 20 in owning a retail store and 20 doing this. And yes, it does date me. But, so for the last 20 years, all Susan and, our team here at WhizBang Training, Retail Training, have been doing is working with small to mid-size independent brick and mortar retailers to help give them the skills they need to run successful stores. And so that's our story. And so, now we have products and programs, and we have certified coaches who we train to go out there and, teach how we do business. But so now we're a robust business. But that's the story. That's how we got here.
I have to first stop you, and because it made me laugh so hard how you said I didn't want a real job, and instantly I thought to myself, no. Instead, you gave yourself a job that's like 20 times harder.
Exactly. Well, there's this thing called unconscious incompetence, and that was me. How hard can it be? And, and this is really, we have created a model called the retailer's journey because, how many thousands of retailers have I talked to after going through my own experience? And the first phase, the first step in the retailer's journey is what we call shopkeeper, and it's that, and shopkeeper is unconscious incompetence. If I just, your passion for your product is what really sort of what defines you and how you think of your business. And then, and again, I've talked to a lot of people, but about year 2 is the sweet spot where everybody has that oh shit moment where they go, oh no, if something doesn't change, and by then, of course, you've invested time and blood and sweat and tears and money. A lot of people, take out loans against their house and stuff like that. And so that's really when, there's a moment of truth when you get to that place and you either decide I'm going to become, the second phase is retail pro. I need to become a real professional retailer or I'm going to lose this thing. Or some people just put their head in the sand and refuse to acknowledge that they don't have the skills. And those people almost inevitably fail. Yeah. Right. So, so it's really about a recognition that, I need to do things differently, that my passion for my product is not enough to make me profitable. So,
yeah. And you have several different levels of training. I know you have your retail mastery system. And that talks about your 11 essential skills, right?
Yeah.
Which you believe are required to be a successful store, which is reasonable to me. 11 that's digestible, right? That's
right.
Like overwhelming, but it's not 3. So I'm like, okay.
Right.
That sounds like good.
So, and so something that's interesting to me, Camille, is that the reason that there's 11 is because as you grow up as a retailer, right? So as you go along your journey, your weaknesses reveal themselves. So in the beginning, I just needed to get people into the store, right? So my weakness was marketing. And then I got people into the store and I realized that I didn't really know how to sell them. So my weakness was selling. So every time then we started to drive people in the store, we started to sell, our business started to grow. So then it became revealed that my weakness was leadership and management because I started hiring employees and I didn't know how to do that. And then so I started, then business keeps growing. So I started buying more inventory. And then one day I realized I was choking on it. So then my weakness was, managing my inventory. And, so as you grow, what you don't know becomes revealed to you because all of a sudden there's this problem in your business. And one of the things that we teach is, a problem is merely a signal that you don't have a set of skills.
Yeah.
Right. So when, so for instance, leadership and management, this is no lie. One day But one of my employees, this is in the mid 80s at the time, and one of my employees was acting really, really, really weird. And I was like, what is with him? I find out later, way after the fact, after he had been fired, the kid was tripping on LSD, right? And it was like, I need to do something here, right? I mean, it wasn't, it was like, you need to go home, Michael. But, it's all, fast forward 10 years from then, I would have, that would have never, ever in 100 years happened. And, all of your viewers and all of your listeners may not have that specific story, but, people stealing from the, all of these things that come with developing skills.
Yep.
And, so that's how we got to 11.
And
that's how we got to 11.
Yeah. And then you have, which I think is phenomenal, is you then have the Retail Sales Academy, which is, so you have this platform set up to train the business owner, the
Yes.
retail owner or manager. And then you have the Retail Sales Academy, which is set up to help train their team that is on the sales floor, or maybe behind the computer nowadays in some way, shape, or form.
But, yeah, well, so you're exactly right. So originally, so the Retail Mastery System, that's our flagship product, right? There's 25 hours worth of training. It's the most comprehensive training program for independent retailers anywhere in the world. But what we found was that so much money was being left on the table because store owners didn't have the time or the energy, even if they had the Retail Mastery System, because there's a whole module on selling and managing sales teams and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, sales training or any kind of training is not an event, it's a process.
Yeah.
And so what we learned, from our work with clients and in our Platinum Mastermind group is that this important piece of the puzzle wasn't being taken care of. And that's why we created the Retail Sales Academy, so that, so if you're an owner of, if you own a home decor store or a gift shop or, your customers, you don't have to worry about doing the training. You don't have to worry about the ongoing training. All you have to do is sort of make sure the people are doing the work within the Retail Sales Academy and the work gets done. Because, so here's, for everybody watching this, here's what I'd like you to think about for just a moment. I'm just going to try to reinforce the value of creating a service culture that sells. Think of your average sale. And think of the average sale of your best salesperson. And then the difference between your average sale and the average sale of your best salesperson is what we call the gap. And that gap represents opportunity, right? So if you and I are on the floor, Camille, and you average, so you're in home decor, most of your community is in home decor. Let's just say your average sale is, let's just say $200. Does that sound about right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's say 200. I guarantee you that somebody, if I'm doing $200, if I'm the average, I guarantee you if you're the best salesperson, you're doing $250 or $300, right? Always. This always happens. I've done this program live hundreds of times. And so I walk up, somebody always shares, I walk up and I say, now think about this for a moment. So Camille's doing $250 and I'm doing $200. That's the average sale. Every time I talk to somebody, instead of Camille, it's costing you, Mr. or Miss Store Owner, $50. Now, multiply that times every transaction you do in a year,
a lot.
And that's missed sales.
Yep.
And people go, oh, that's interesting. And, somebody who is now a member of our Platinum Mastermind group, and he's a WhizBang certified coach, he has 6 music stores. And this is before I even met him, but he's this gregarious guy. So I'm doing this calculation with this big group of people at the National Association of Music Merchants. And so he's like, yeah, I'll play along. And when it was done, it was like, so Donovan, that's his name, how much are you missing? And he said, $1.5 million a year. There was an audible gasp, right? But so, that's the point, is that, it's all of these skills, and the best retailers, get really proactive about understanding where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are. They work really hard to really, maximize their strengths and shore up their weaknesses. Well, and that's where we come into.
And right now, so many retailers have been transitioning because a lot of them had to let go of a team, right, due to this whole pandemic. And a lot of them, now are in the process of rebuilding and bringing in, hopefully they could bring old team members back. Maybe they're most likely bringing in a lot of new team members. And as we all know, a lot more got added onto everyone's plate throughout COVID because technology and social selling and all of these things. So now you have more to your plate than ever before. What a great way to take a piece of your to-do list and bring you all in to help train those new employees to be strong salespeople. I think that's something we all need to make a point to do. Is I have this massive to-do list. I can't do everything. I can't physically or mentally or emotionally do everything. What are some things that I can transition over to bring in some help?
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. And especially, right now during this pandemic and all of the uncertainty and everything that's happened, with the uncertainty, there's two things that are happening. One is people are very, very, not afraid, but, to take on an extra cost is yes, it makes them a little anxious. And the other is some people are having a hard time finding help.
Yes.
But, again, this is part of the wisdom and the skills. Finding help is really knowing how to recruit and how to interview skillfully. And, and so one of the things that's happening right now is that it's important for all of us as independent brick and mortar retailers to be careful about our cash, but understand the difference between a cost and an investment. So I'll give you an example. So a cost is replacing your carpet. If your store is looking to a little shop worn, replace your carpet, when times are good, right? All these capital costs. And so right now, we want to hold on to our cash because we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. So we want to be careful with our cash, but we also have to understand that sometimes you need to spend money to make money. And, so, the Retail Sales Academy is an example of that. If you, put the money in, you'll get the money out. And so there's this fine line that everybody is walking right now between, costs and investments. And, in fact, on our WhizBang retailer community, which I know that you're part of. And I would love to invite anybody who's watching this. Go to Facebook. WhizBang Retailers is the group. But somebody said that. They're like, I let everybody go for the pandemic. Now I'm kind of afraid about bringing people back. Their hours were short. We're coming into the holidays, and I know Ann personally. She's got a bookstore in Kent, Ohio. I was like, Ann, think about all the money you're missing because you're only open 12 to 4 right now. There's a real opportunity for everyone out there to be aggressive about the customer-facing things. And when I was like, if they can't come to you, they're going to go buy their books on Amazon or at the mall at Barnes & Noble. So for us as independents, it's really important that we do everything we can to give our customers every opportunity to shop with us. And that includes keeping, customer-friendly store hours.
Yeah.
And, through this whole thing, I've been really, really careful not to be critical of the decisions people make, right? Everybody has their own issues. And I've been very, very careful. But it's also becoming on me to share that, look, if you can, do what you can to get aggressive right now. Because the people who are hustling, the people who are aggressive, the people who are doing everything they can to drum up business are going to get the business. And assuming that those customers who come in have a great experience, when this is all said and done, the retailers who are out there hustling, who are doing the right things right now, when this all ends, those people are going to explode. So
some of
it's
them
a real opportunity to A, make things happen right now, but B, position yourself for big growth when it all opens up. The people who have been doing the right things for this whole thing are it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing, Camille.
That's right. And some of them have been exploding through COVID.
That's right.
And it's been amazing to see the different effects. We just talked to a great a fashion retailer who is an e-commerce business. We talked to House of LZ last week, and she has just been doing phenomenal, because she's been making a point to stay in front of her customers.
That's right.
I think that is the whole point, is staying in front of your customers and doing right by your customers will make them show up now. But you're right. When this whole thing is over, people are itching to get out. And if you are the place on the top of their mind, then that's where they're going to go.
That's exactly right. And another trend that is very strong right now is that people want to support local businesses. And they really do. And some people hate me when I say this, but I've never been a real fan of shop local. Don't get me wrong, I shop local. But as a movement, I've always kind of thought that, sort of guilting people into shopping local to keep their money local is not, it's just not the best way to get people excited. And so my feeling has always been, you want to get people to shop local, be the best doggone merchant, be the best option, right? If you're the best option, they're not going to go online. They're going to shop with you because they're going to have a better experience. They know they're going to get great value because they want to shop with you, right, not because they feel guilty about going online. So that's a little sidebar. But what's happening right now through this whole thing is people really are starting to understand what their local independent retailers mean to them. So the attraction is visceral. It's emotional, in a positive way. Yeah. So, to your point, it's all about intelligently, strategically engaging right now. And, coming into fourth quarter, we're doing next Thursday and Friday, we're doing a program, an online virtual conference called Holiday University. And that's what it's going to be all about. This holiday season is unlike any other. And so it's going to take a different set of strategies, there's so many different ways to engage. And, so it's that whole thing, just what you talked about. How do you make your customers feel really great about shopping with you?
And I know that's a question that a lot of our, we have reps right now that are on the field out, across 8 states on the field. And all of our customers, all of our retailers have been saying, asking questions about the holiday season and there all types of questions, because you're right, it is going to be different than ever. And it does seem to be starting earlier than ever.
Yes.
And so if you are one of those retailers right now that are starting to have those questions, then we strongly encourage you, go right now, join WhizBang. At the very least, go on their Facebook page and start following the conversation, because the questions and the conversation is plentiful, and I think that that's the best advice that I feel like we can even give as a team, is to look into what you have to offer next week with the holidays coming up. And it has been interesting to see that it is, I mean, there is already the holiday vibe in the air.
Well, that's exactly right. So, and so I'm not, so there's a couple of things that are super important. I mean, do you want to talk about holidays? I can just give you a thumbnail sketch of.
Sure, give me a quick.
Sure.
And then
there's a couple of things. First of all, starting early. Starting early. We almost did this program a couple weeks earlier, but we had a couple of other. but start early, because there's this thing called customer share. So market share, if there's $100 worth of furniture sold in your community and you get 80 of them, that means that you have 80% market share. It's a percentage of the total dollars spent on what you sell in your trade area. But there's also something called customer share. And I don't know if anybody else talks about it. I don't know if I made it up or I don't know. Anyway, but customer share. So Camille, if you're spending $100 at the holidays and I get 80 of them, I have $80 customer share. And everybody is going after customer share earlier. So there's a couple things that happen when you start early. I think you're right. People are just ready to start doing something that makes them feel good. But so by starting earlier, you're doing a couple of things. One, you're proactively gathering customer share. Two, you're stretching the season, because, the model for retail used to be drive people into the store, right? You'd have Santa Claus in your store and everybody come and sit on Santa Claus's lap and take pictures. Nobody's sitting on Santa Claus's lap this year, right? You're not going to have the high school choir singing in the back of your store. So what, and a lot of people, for very good reason, don't want to shop in store or want to shop or spend as little time in the stores as possible. So by stretching your season, you give people more opportunity. It lessens the load on your in-store, on your in-store experience. And so, but that leads to the second point. So you're starting earlier and you're doing a lot more live, right? So what we're trying to do, so I've coined a term, it's called Omni Experiential Retail. People talk about omni-channel, right? You have your store, you have your website. Now it's Omni Experiential. So you have your store, you have your website, you have social selling, you have clienteling, you're buying via Facebook, via appointment. You're letting your customers shop with you the way that they want to shop with you. And you let them get it delivered the way they want it delivered. So you're going to have shipping, you're going to have curbside, you're going to, it's all about what the customer wants right now. And the best retailers are going to fill in as many of those holes as possible. Because again, let's go back to that assumption. They want to support you. They want to shop with you. So you have to, build that relationship, but you also need to give them or give them the opportunity to do it the way that they want to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I fully agree with you. What is I have to ask you, what is your thought between, brick and mortar versus e-commerce versus social selling? You had a brick and mortar store. Now it's quite common to have e-commerce only and no brick and mortar, or to have both. And it feels like everyone has to have the social platform, which has become such a strong sales platform now as well, and is strengthening as Facebook is currently working on that.
Yep.
Are you a believer in all of them?
That's absolutely. This is Omni Experiential, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples. We just had our virtual retail success summit, right? So we usually have the world's largest educational event for independent retailers in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Well, of course, this year we couldn't do it, so we went virtual, and we had somebody on who presented at the summit, and his name's Josh Orr. And, we talked about this, we had this conversation around this whole idea of there's a brand, right? And so, when we talk about Omni Experiential, so a lot of people, during this pandemic, put websites up like crazy, right? And e-commerce sites. And this is perfect because a lot of people want to buy that way. And a lot of people are doing social selling, and because a lot of people want to buy that way. And a lot of people are doing curbside pickup. This is Omni Experiential Retail. So when you ask, what do I believe in? I believe in all of it. But I do believe that they need to be self-reinforcing. So for instance, so let's just say that I have a daily Facebook Live show, right? So I go on, let's say I have a furniture store, home decor. So every day I go on at noon. I like noon for a lot of people because people who are having a lunch hour can tune in on your show. So every day I go live and I talk about trends, or I walk around and I talk about what we have in stock, right? So, but then, so let's just say I sell this wonderful WhizBang training glass. I say, so this glass would be a wonderful addition to any holiday. I don't know, but I'm just talking about it. The store owners are the experts.
Right.
And then I can say, so if you're interested, if you use comments sold, you can just say, say that you want it, or I say you can go to our website and, buy it there. Or of course you can call us on the phone and we have curbside pickup for you. So do you see how they're all self-reinforcing? And that's what we want to have happen. And so just one little quick tip for your viewers or your listeners. When you, if you do Facebook Live or, some sort of social selling and you have an e-commerce website, you should figure out what you're going to feature before you start that day. So you can say to them, look, so if you love this WhizBang glass, you can go to our website. It's one of our featured items. So again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to make it super easy for people to buy from us. So I coined another term. I coined a lot of terms. It's one of the things that I do. It's WWMCW, and it stands for what would my customer want?
Okay.
And, so when you're thinking about your business, this is both a philosophy and a strategy. It's a philosophy and it's the way that you approach doing business, right? It's just love your customers and the money will follow. But it's a strategy also in that if you define strategy as where you put your resources, so, when you start thinking about what you're going to do for this holiday season, you start looking and you say, yes, I need to make sure that my website is flexible, that it represents my brand, because so many people have websites, they're up. Yeah. The pandemic, they got them up, but they're not good. They might sell country as a style, and their website is designed as modern, or vice versa. So, you really start looking at it and saying, this is where I was talking about Josh Orr and what his, that whole conversation is. When people interact with your brand, the feeling should be consistent because what you're doing is consistent.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. It is all about consistency across all the channels. But I am a big believer, and we have been touting this for the last 16 weeks now, that if you are still not up on a website, if you are still not social selling and have your Facebook and your Instagram running, please jump on those, and because those have been hot markets, and it is all about omni-channeling, omni-selling, omni experiential. I love that term, omni experiential. And yes, I know that it can be scary. Some people are very scared of it, but I know it can be scary. But I'm a true believer that if you had the guts to get into the retail industry, then you are more than brave enough to also, open a website and jump on social media.
Yes. So let's talk about that real quickly. So to build a website is merely, it doesn't take much guts. It just takes money and, making a commitment to it. And now it becomes easier and easier for, to build a website. And, it's just becoming easy. Like 15 years ago, you had to hire some knucklehead who, so it was, you were beholden to them. So, but you're absolutely correct. I could not agree with you more. It is part of the way that we have to do business, right? If you're watching this or listening to this and all you're doing is hoping that things will revert to where they were, you're going to fail. I just don't know how else to tell you, but the future does not belong to you because the world has changed irrevocably. And the future belongs to those who change.
Yeah.
So it needs to happen. It doesn't have to be robust. You don't have to have everything that you have in your store on it, but you should certainly have bestsellers. Your website should express to people who you are. It should express your personality. But let's go to social selling, because a lot of people are really afraid
of
social selling. And I'll share with you a story, and it's we were sort of prescient in that. So our Platinum Mastermind group is our highest level group, right? Application and invitation. We get together 3 times a year. It's not inexpensive.
Right.
In fact, it's fairly expensive for most people. And so we had David Lawrence the 17th, who is a renowned voiceover actor. If you saw a picture of him, you've probably seen him acting someplace, right? But anyway, he's a friend of ours from a mastermind that we were in. And in late January, we had our Platinum Mastermind group meeting in Los Angeles. It was right before the pandemic hit. So David's with us live, and he's talking about, how to tell stories and how to present yourself on camera. And we were talking about live and how live is the future. And several people in the group are, I'm afraid, I can't even imagine, and all those things. And finally, David stopped, and he goes, stop it right here, right now. And his message to us and my message to everybody who is watching this, who isn't doing it yet, is you are enough, right? If you have built a relationship with your community, if you have a Facebook community, you have an email list, the first time you go on, it will look like shit. Oh, excuse my,
it's true. And you will be terrified.
And you will be terrified, and the camera will fall, and the microphone won't work. And, even after you've done this.
Yes.
I had problems getting on today, right?
We had tech problems today.
It humanizes you. Yeah. It humanizes you. And, and in the first couple times you do it, it's not going to be great. If you want a good example of this, if you go to wizdom.com, there's an H in WhizBang Training, /coronavirus. It's all the things that we did for the first 12 weeks of the pandemic, right? And we did a live 15-minute podcast every morning. But you can see all the early issues. And if you go to the podcast and you go to episode number 1, it is truly horrific. The sound quality, the video quality, we did it in the kitchen. It was just terrible. But we knew that we just needed to start.
Yep.
And then, our boys came home and they're pros until everything became better. But, that's the point.
But that is the point.
Don't let perfection get in the way of progress. Do it.
Right. And that is what we keep saying is just start. And I had an episode a few weeks ago where it's show up. The truth is I was having a day that the truth was I didn't want to show up. But you know what? Damn it. Show up. And that is part of it. And you are enough is a great way to say it. Nobody needs to be a professional at this. You're going to be terrified. You'll get a little bit less terrified every time. I have been in the entertainment industry for 30 years. over 30 years, 33 years. And I was terrified to start doing this. But you know what? You calm the nerves a little bit every time. You get a little bit better every time. And roll with the punches and laugh it off, you know?
And you know what? And so some people aren't going to care for it, and that's okay, because you're not looking to be everything to everyone. What you're looking to be is you're looking to be a hero to the right people.
That's right. That's
right. So the question is, you know, who do you, so if you're in home decor, you know, if you're contemporary furniture, you know, you're not trying to appeal to everybody's style and taste. Nope. You're trying to appeal to the people who have your same design sensibilities. And, you know, and if you just start talking to them, walking around your store, telling them what you know, not being afraid to make mistakes, what you're going to find is that you're going to thrive at it. And I'll tell you another quick story. So different industries, but one of our clients has a knitting store in Bay City, Michigan. And so she was terrified. She's like, I can't, but she had to pay the rent, right? Michigan's in shutdown. She was the only person who was allowed into her store. So she started, like the month of April, she was up 36%. She didn't have any employees. It was just her going live 2 hours every day. Now, of course, knitters needed, she was in the right industry for it, but now she's like a pro. Now she's got it dialed in. Now it's part of the way she does business. Now, rather than just having customers who live near her, now she has customers all over the United States and Canada. So it's a new world, and for your listeners and your viewers, I just want to encourage you to recognize it's a new world.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid. Hustle. Try things. You're gonna screw things up, but it's okay, because that's how we navigate uncertainty, right? It's by just trying things. And here's something. One of the most important things you can have right now is confidence. And the first step to confidence is having courage, right? Because courage implies getting over fear. So you might not want to do live social media, but you have to have courage to overcome that and get on for the first time and drop the camera or lose some words or whatever. But guess what? That courage to do that will give you confidence to try it on day 2. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're just trying new things and you're growing and you're becoming more confident. My favorite business thinker, his name is Dan Sullivan. And he said that entrepreneurs will grow more in the last 4 months than they would have in the last 5 years. And I don't know about 5 years, but I do know that if you're out there hustling and you're out there trying and you're putting yourself out there and you're doing right by your customers, that you are fundamentally changing, that your brain is being literally physically rewired, and that you are becoming more resilient, you're becoming wiser, you're becoming stronger, you're becoming braver, you're becoming better. And that's why the future belongs to independent brick and mortar retailers. And we're never going to beat up on Amazon, but any one of your customers can thrive in the future.
Yep.
But it takes being ready for the future.
Yeah, well, and I just read something which I feel can apply so well to this. You are braver than you think, you are stronger than you seem, and you are loved more than you will ever know. And that's
absolutely, that's great.
You are braver than you think, and you are loved by so many of your customers more than you'll ever know. So, take the step. So I have to ask, I have 2 quick questions before I get into my final questions for you.
Okay.
I need to ask you, what is your number 1 tip for retailers? I know we've talked a lot of great tips, but do you have one tip where you are like, this is my number 1?
Yeah, the number 1 is build your list. I mean, we can talk about trying and, screwing it, that's a mindset piece, right? But if we're talking about a tactical thing, grow your email list. A lot of people want to put all of their eggs into social media, and I love social media. But a social media relationship is a rented relationship. Once you get somebody to give you their email address or their home address or their text number, now you own the relationship. And, and I see this all the time where, I say, how long have you been in business? 20 years. How big is when I talk to clients for the first time, one of my first 5 questions is, how big is your list? Because if they have a big list, now we know what to do. If they don't have a big list, now we know what to do. Build your list. Oh. So I'll encourage you to look at your listeners to look at it this way. I had a conversation with a client years ago, and so she had 1,000 people on her email list. So I said, when's the last time you sent out an email for a promotion? 2 weeks ago. Okay, great. How much did you do from that promotion? $2,000. Great. Now we know. $2 for every email you have. So now, all things being equal, if you have 10,000 people on your list, you're going to make $20,000 from that same email. Oh, yeah. So build your list. Be incredibly proactive about building your list. And then the other thing when we talk about email marketing is every week, not once a month, not every other week, every week at least. If you can do it, if you can make it interesting, twice a week. If you can keep it interesting, 3 times a week, you're building that relationship. Okay.
Got it. Okay, so we are, here at And Sales, we are a team of reps. So I feel like I have to do my due diligence for my team. Yeah. Do you have a number 1 tip for reps?
For reps? Yes, I do. See yourself as a partner, not as an order taker. So if you're a rep, you should know more about retail than your customers, right? So, I would invite all of your reps to, participate in our community. So one of the best investments your reps could make, a professional investment would be to invest in the retail mastery system, right? It's not inexpensive. It's, $2,997. But if your rep who is driving around visiting were to immerse themselves in that information, they would make themselves invaluable to their customers. So, you don't have to invest. I'm just using that as an example. But, so many reps just see themselves as order takers. And, that's a sure way to irrelevance. You need to be partners. You need to be consultants. You need to be on their team. And when you're on your retailer's team, they're going to respond with their money. Again, it's the same thing that we tell our retailers. Love your customers, the money will follow. Let us tell your reps. Love your customers, the money will follow.
Yes, I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bob. You have had so much fantastic information to share with us. I am going to now start to wrap it up with our final 3 questions. What is your favorite book, podcast, or blog?
My favorite podcast has got to be Tim Ferriss. I love Tim Ferriss. I just think he's an incredibly skillful interviewer. He brings in really interesting, successful people. And I like it because you're seeing things from the big picture. The only downside of Tim Ferriss is that his podcasts are long, hour and a half, 2 hours. And I need to exercise more or go for longer rides in my car. But I always get something really, really meaningful from Tim Ferriss.
Very cool. What is the most important item in your toolbox?
So it happens to be sitting on my desk, and I would say it is this. This is my journal, and I have been journaling. I got this beautiful Mont Blanc folio for Father's Day several years ago, and I'm looking to the side, and I probably have 20 of these filled out. And so, if your readers want to go, if you go to WhizBangTraining.com, in the primary navigation, there's blog, and there's an episode. It's a video blog called Real Retail TV, and it's called My Best Habit. And so there's lots of things that go into it, but the best part of it, two things that always happen. One is I start every morning with gratitude, and that sets my day correctly. And I think about things and I write about all kinds of stuff, but these are two things that happen every day. So I start my day with gratitude, and at the end of the day when I journal, I proactively look for the wins from the day. Because as entrepreneurs, we tend to get caught up in our heads with all the things we haven't done. And by creating this habit, it forces me to recognize all of the things that I have done. So this is my best tool, and it's my best habit because it really starts my day correctly and ends my day correctly.
Love it. Love it. All right, our final question, and I know that you have this positive mindset. It's just like flowing out from your fingertips, which is why I love following you and WhizBang. What is the most positive thing that you think we have all gained from this pandemic?
Well, the most positive thing to come from this pandemic is it has forced people to change, right? So Marshall Goldsmith, I've got his book up there someplace, has got this quote: "What got you here won't get you there." And I talked about these fundamental changes that are happening. How your brain is being rewired, and so what this whole pandemic has forced people to do things that they're not comfortable doing. To your point, it's forced people to recognize how important they are for their community. It's forced us to grow. It's easy, especially when the money's good, when the economy is good. It's really easy to, and especially if you have a store and cash flow is strong and you're getting by nicely, it's easy to coast. And don't get me wrong, I would love to coast again for a while. Everybody out there's going, "Oh, doesn't coasting sound nice?" Yes. Right? I'd love to go to Hawaii, right? But it all sounds so nice. But but the fact that we were forced to deal with it is the best thing that has come from this pandemic. Because, 6 months from now, a year from now, whenever this whole thing is done, I don't know when it's going to be done. I don't know when the economy is going to change. I don't know when this recession is going to change. But when this is done, everybody who has made it, and the fact that they're watching this, Camille, tells me that the people who are watching this, the fact that you're watching this tells me that you want more, that you want to learn and you want to grow. But the people who come through this, when this is all done, you're going to go, "Man, that was hard. That was difficult. That really kind of sucked." But guess what? I'm so much better for it, right?
Yep.
Hardship forces us to grow. And that's what's happening here.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. We have all grown. I've watched so many retailers grow in so many ways. I think many of us have grown personally as well. We're all exhausted. I think that anyone would be, not being truthful if we didn't say we're all exhausted. So, we all feel you there, but hopefully we're all helping each other keep on keeping on and keep on.
That's exactly right.
Putting each step forward. Truly, Camille,
I believe that the future of small to mid-size independent brick and mortar retail has never, ever, ever been brighter. So really a lot of people are just kind of hanging on. The whole deal is this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. You just have to survive. You have to survive, and then once you survive, take all these things you've learned, apply it to your business, and then great things are going to happen.
Yep. I agree with you so much. Thank you so much, Bob. I mean, we have jam-packed this time in so many helpful tips. Again, everybody go on WhizBang. Bob, I want to give you a chance. Let everybody know how they can catch you. Where should they go to find you?
Sure, absolutely. So if you want to get a hold of me personally, My email address is bob.negen, Negen, backwards and forwards, the same way. Bob.negen at wizdom.training.com. But we have lots of free resources, and let's just start real quickly with that. If you go to our website, WhizBangTraining, again with an H.com, sign up for our tip of the week. So you'll get a written tip every Wednesday, and every Monday you'll get our Real Retail TV. Another great free resource is our Facebook community, and that is WhizBang Retailers. And, you know, there is not a more positive community of independent retailers, you know, sort of, you know, across industries anywhere. So I would encourage you to join those two things. You know, those two things are a great way to start. But of course, we have products and programs ranging from, you know, $30 to, you know, our Platinum Mastermind group is $12,000 a year. And there's everything in between. But I do want to say, for everybody who's watching this, I would encourage you to go to our website and look at Holiday University, because I think it's one of the most important programs we've ever done, because this is the COVID holidays. So
yeah, well, and for most people, most retailers, Q4 is their biggest quarter of the year.
That's right, absolutely.
So you know, this is right now, everybody. If you are not in the holiday mindset, get there today, and you know, and think of, you know, check out WhizBang's holiday course of you know, and conversation. It'll be so important. Thank you, Bob, so much. We will be putting everything, all of the links to everything, in all the notes below. And if you guys have any questions for us or questions for Bob, topics that you want us to touch on, you know, we're happy to do that. So thank you so much, Bob. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to hearing more about your holiday training.
All right. Well, thank you, Camille. I'm honored to be here. See you later, everybody. Thanks for being here.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. Gosh, I feel like I need to go and start journaling myself about all of the great tips that I've learned. And yeah, we're going to be back next week. But I really mean it. If you guys have topics that you want to hear about, if you have questions for any of our guests that we've had over the last 16 weeks, I can't believe we're already at 16 weeks, let us know. We're happy to chat about anything. We just want to be here to help you all out. And with that, I'll see you again next week. Have a good one.